but it's always good to review. And the review of today's little gem. The review of today's little gem is simply adding, subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. Add some mixed numbers. And in math, we have a little catchphrase when it comes to adding and subtracting mixed numbers. I'm going to make it really big. Predicting what Mr. Hahn's going to say about that is when you add and subtract fractions, what has to happen? Well, let me give you one. Let's say I've got 2/3 plus 3/4. There's a bunch of things that I'll tell you for this. 2/3 plus 3/4. Two things I'm going to tell you. One of them should be really obvious. The second one not so much. First one, Isabel, is, thank you very much, I do know. Ding, ding, ding. Right, up, and down. So you see this problem, your first step is you're going to write it not like it is written here, but like this. And then, anybody going once, going twice? Second thing is, Laney Clark? What do we call that? In math, huh? Yeah, the bottom number is called the denominator, but what do we call it when we make them the same? We say, Drew?
Making common denominators.
Thank you very much. Step number 2 is, in math, we like to use the old make common denominators. And why is that? Well, for the simple reason of this. If you had 2/3 of a pizza and you ate 3/4 of a pizza, you know, most people who are just looking at this for whatever reason, oh, it's adding. Oh, that means I ate 5/7 of a pizza. I added the tops and I added the bottoms and blah, blah, blah. Well, that doesn't make sense. You know, if you really look at a pizza and you have 2/3 of it, and then you look at another pizza and you have 3/4 of it, well, actually, here. Well, I can't. If you put those two together, you're certainly not going to, you're going to get a fraction that's bigger than 1, obviously, don't you think? Because you got 2/3 on, you're going to make it. So we have to do what's called changing to common denominators. Now we're ready. Great. This is not working out well. In which case it would be what? How do I do that? If I'm making common denominators, I have to find what for my denominator? What is my common denominator, Grace Christ? It is 12. What do we call that in math, the math world? It's actually called the least common multiple, if you remember back in the day. What is the smallest thing that both 3 and 4 will go into? Now, kind of breaking it down to the bare whatever there. You know, if you're counting by 3s and you're counting by 4s, what's the first number you'll get to that they both have? And that's where Grace said 12. And then what has to happen here? Make equal fractions by 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12, so 4 times 2 is 8. Adding them together, you get 17 12s, right? Am I right? Am I right or am I right?
You're right.
Right. And then obviously the last step is always what? What we call in the math world, simplify it. Which simply means we don't like 17 12s because it's not in its easiest to understand form. 17 12s, Jade shoot is 1 and 5 12s. You divide 12 into 17, you get 1, went in there one whole time with 5 left over. 1 and 5 12s. Anybody think that that'll be an issue? You're probably saying, hey, let's do a mixed number one. Somebody said that. One mixed number one, and then I don't want to like insult your intelligence by not thinking you don't know how to do this. 3½ minus 1 3/4. 3 1/2 minus 1 3/4. Oh, we have to talk about this because this is something. Even though you're 7th graders, I know Common denominator, Brooklyn Peterson is? Let me rush you. Are you rushing? What? I could, but I really want you to tell me. What is my common denominator of 2 and 4? Smallest number both 2 and 4 go into. Least common multiple, huh? 8 is a one, but it's not the smallest. And you could use 8, if you use 8, you're just gonna have to reduce it. But yeah, 8 would work. 4 is your better choice. Luckily for you, this is 4, so this stays 3. 4 times 2, or 2 times 2 is 4, so 1 times 2 is 2. And now we have a small issue, ladies and gentlemen. What happens because I'm trying to take 3/4 away from 2/4? 3/4 is bigger than 2/4. I can't do it. So just like in normal subtraction, you have to borrow. What happens when I borrow with fractions? Normally in other numbers you just add 10 to that, but that's not the case with 10. Or with 2/4 with fractions. Sorry. Somebody want to help me out with this? And then explain why. What do I do, Lainey?
Huh? I don't know why.
Well, tell me what I do.
Add 4 plus 2.
I add these two numbers together to get my new top number. Can somebody tell me why? No. I blame myself. Mathematical failure. How about this? I'm taking 1 away from this, correct? And adding it to this fraction, right? What is 2/4 plus 1? Well, 1 is the same as 4/4, right? So 2/4 plus 4/4 is 6/4. So rather than having you do all of this work, you just know that you're going to add the bottom and the top together to get the new top, because that's what's going to, anytime you add 1 to the fraction, it's always going to be the same number with the same number, which is what that denominator. Does that make sense? Just like this. If I had 5/15 and I was trying to subtract 1 and 5/15 and I was trying to subtract 9/15 from it, I'd have to borrow from this, it'd become a 0. This becomes 20/15. Why? Because if I add 1 to this, it's the same as adding 15 over 15 to it. And that's what 5 plus 15 is. Enough said. What do I get when I subtract here then? What is 3/4 from 6/4? Danny? What is, if I take 3/4 from 6/4, I get 3/4. If I take 1 from 2, I get 1. Is that bringing back some fond memories of last year? What's that? Really? 7th grade's not better than 6th grade?
Yes, it is. Way better.
Way better. Say that not. Be that not proud. I think that'll probably get you to a point where you can probably do